All right, assisted living fans, let's talk about this week's episode, The Brown Bomber, which aired December 2nd. This was episode 19 of season 1. You know the drill, guys. Go ahead and like the video, hit subscribe, click the bell notification icon, and select all. That way you're notified whenever I post new content. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. And let's jump right into it. So the synopsis says Mr. Brown becomes anxious to open the assisted living facility. Everyone becomes concerned when Mr. Brown tries to drum up business before they're ready to open. Jeremy and Leah agree to have Lindor over for dinner. The episode itself aside, I just want to say that if I were just judging from appearance, this episode gets a 10 out of 10 strictly because they finally have renovated, or they are just about done with the renovation process. And my gosh, it took 18 episodes to get to this point because this is episode 19, but we finally got the assisted living place looking like somebody could actually live there, and that's a plus in itself. But is the show or the episode all show and no substance? Well, let's break it down. Vinny pretty much, burst everybody's bubble to say, well, not on purpose, basically like, hey, before we get too excited about opening the facility and making back the $40,000, we need to pass the inspection and everything, get the business license. So basically, cross the T's, dot the I's before they can actually start bringing in people and making money. It looks like, Leah is playing the patient game with Sandra in order to allow her to bring up Lindor and bring up the boyfriend. Well, not boyfriend, but bring up the bus driver before, her. Basically, Leah and Jeremy are being not pushovers, but they're being strategic parents because they realize their previous style of parenting, if you want to call that parenting, wasn't working. So at this point, it's like, let's play the game and see what happens. Brown, I believe the place is called Pleasant Day. That's the name of the assisted living facility. He pretty much, the Brown Bomber makes the live stream about how they have this new place. Come on down for business. Brown, Cora, and Medea are his only followers. And I predicted that in my trailer breakdown. I'm like, if there's nobody else that follows him, it's probably Medea and Cora, which goes back to my Joe theory about if there's a video or whatever, or any kind of announcement that the place is ready, Medea would drop off Joe, but whatever. So basically Brown has himself, Cora, and Medea. And considering that Brown follows himself, the Brown Bomber is most likely his social media account that's like for business or whatever, or show, while he has his own account. Because to my knowledge, you can't follow yourself on your own account. Like, I can't follow myself on YouTube on the haves and have nots. But if I were to go over to one of my other channels, like Pokemon review channel or whatever the hell I named that channel, I could follow the haves and the have nots. So basically, you can't follow yourself from your own channel. But this episode seems to disprove several social media, I guess you could say, common knowledge or social media etiquette, but I'll get to that towards the end of the video. So I did like the moment where Cora likes to post like, hey, you got a like, that's me. That was pretty cute. So Jeremy's back from school, says, hey, I rode the bus. Sandra is apparently bringing the boy in. So, it's like, hey, I ain't trying to be a snitch. And not Jeremy, but Philip pretty much, I'm sorry, I put down Jeremy back from school. It's actually Philip. I apologize. It's hard to say Jeremy because that's the name of Niam Lynn's character, and I don't want to sound like I'm speaking in the third person, but Philip notes how nice the place looks after he drops a whack beat about, or whack rap about the facility. But either way, he pretty much speaks for the audience when he says how nice the place looks and how everybody can possibly pull it off. I'm sorry. So Sandra comes in with Lindor, the bus driver, and first glance, I'm like, he kind of, just the way he was kind of fidgety and, didn't seem to be confident. He kind of reminded me of AJ on Greenleaf just based on demeanor alone. I did like how Brown noted how his hairstyle looks like Sandra's. That was actually pretty damn funny. So in any case, they allow him to stay for dinner, and Jeremy goes to talk with the boy one-on-one. Apparently, his mother passed away, and ever since then, his father, the sheriff, has been watching him like a hawk. And Jeremy kind of picks up on a weird vibe from him, and he talks about this to Leah later on. But essentially, the sheriff doesn't even want Lindor to be over here at the assisted living facility, but he apologizes, rightfully so, about how he didn't introduce himself before and the fact that Sandra just up and left with him without, again, him telling anybody where they were going. But he basically says that, well, you know, Sandra said that it was okay for me to leave. So that actually goes back to what the sheriff said about how Sandra was initiating the conversation, whereas Jeremy was like, no, my daughter doesn't initiate anything. But no, apparently Sandra was the one making the moves on him, or at least at the very least, at the very least, you know, was the one that said, oh, it's okay if you pick me up and my parents say it's okay. So basically Sandra was lying. Not saying Lindor was 100% innocent, but like his father was saying, you know, it kind of makes sense that the city girl, you know, seduces the country bumpkin. And based off how Lindor describes Sandra being pretty, smart, intelligent, sophisticated, yeah, you could tell they live in a backwater town. And I'm not talking out of my ass here because I come from a small town myself. So he basically is like, hey, is there anything you need me to do around here? You know, I can clean gutters, I can paint or whatever. I'll do it for free. So basically, hang on, I'll talk about that in a little bit. So, you know, Vinny's like, hell yeah, let's do it. Because, I mean, did Vinny even cuss in this episode? If he did, I didn't notice, because either way, he kind of didn't play a major role in the episode. He had a couple scenes here and there, but if he cursed, I could not tell. But he's like, yeah, we got to make good with the sheriff's son, because, you know, the sheriff is the one who's going to pass the license and whatnot. So the quicker we get on good terms with him, the quicker we can get these licenses and open up the business and make this money back. So then we get to the point where Jeremy is talking with Leah about him and talking about Lindor to his wife and how something just feels off. And Sandra and Brown are upstairs. Brown goes up there to ask Sandra what's going on, because she's suspicious about how her parents are so cool about everything. And Brown is trying to reassure her that being nice is the reason things are going well for her. And then Philip comes in and basically explains that Brown is going viral. Apparently his post got over 15,000 likes. There's a bunch of phone calls. There are a bunch of messages that want the address and everything for the assisted living facility. So basically they're a hit before they even open. So, two big things I want to talk about. Number one, Lindor, and the fact that his father, just based on his father's demeanor and the fact that it's a small town, it stands to reason that his father is probably cracking the whip on him. Now, I don't know about him being physically abusive and whatnot, but Lindor being more than willing to help out around the assisted living facility can come down to one or two things. Number one, it's an excuse to be closer to Sandra, and with him being at the facility and working there, you know, he'll be supervised, if you will. So Jeremy and Leah will be there watching him like a hawk, but at least he can be with Sandra. Number two, and I feel like this is probably the most likely one, ever since his mother died, his father probably became a bit abusive. Again, I don't know if it's like physical, but probably a much stern disciplinarian. So any excuse to get away from his father and home life is probably welcome, because I know there's a difference between a guy who's trying to impress the parents of his girlfriend or whatever, but to actually be going out of his ways like, hey, I can clean the gutters, I can do this or that. It looks like he's trying to find an escape, if you ask me. Now, number two, it goes back to what I said before about the whole social media rules not being followed. I'm not saying this to be bitter because of how long it took me to reach the status I am now online, but to post a ridiculous live stream that's not even like 2 minutes long, and then it goes from one like being Cora to over 15,000 likes. What the hell? Like, did Brown use hashtags, or I don't know. It makes zero sense. Like, I'm not going to deduct points for that, but it's just like, it makes no sense whatsoever. Like, this is a very small town. Brown has 3 followers. I mean, you could, well, like Jeremy, Cora liked the post. So what if Cora has a lot of followers and her followers saw that she liked the post and then they started to share it? I don't know. Plot. Like, I mean, it's the plot that, well, Jeremy, how did they redecorate or basically renovate the entire assisted living facility from between the time that Jeremy and Philip and Sandra left for school and Jeremy, oh my goodness. How did they renovate the entire assisted living facility when Philip and Sandra went to school, and then when they got back? That doesn't make any sense. Again, I don't really give a crap. I think I've said this before in previous reviews. I don't care if they renovate the entire facility in like one episode. At least things look nice for a change. And they do. So I honestly do not care. But when it comes to the viral sensation that is Brown's ridiculous video, I think that's a bit too much to swallow. And once again, that's coming from a guy who does this for a living. I'm not saying it isn't impossible, but it just doesn't make sense. But whatever. So with that being said, what would I score the episode? I know last week I think I gave it a 4 out of 10, and people were like, man, this deserves at least a 7 or 8 because it was good. I gotta admit, I did lowball it, because if you look at my review from last week's episode of Assisted Living, episode 18, I spoke highly of it throughout the entire episode, and the fact that Assisted Living was better than House of Pain. Now let me put it this way: House of Pain was actually pretty damn good this week. However, Assisted Living was also pretty good. And I got a lot of discussion out of the content from House of Pain, but there is one little thing that I did not mention because people were kind of going back and forth with me. Because I think in one of my videos, I'm like, see, I was going to give the episode a 10 out of 10, but Calvin leaving his keys makes no sense. But then people were like, well, Jeremy, he did say he was going back to his place to change in order to go out to watch football with Pookie and Peanut. And I was like, dang it. But then somebody counteracted that. Well, how in the world did his keys get in the kitchen when Calvin was never in the kitchen when he went to see Curtis? I was like, uh-oh. I don't know. But I got to go back and rewatch that scene because I got to think of the time difference from when Calvin is left to wait for the package versus when Jasmine comes in with the dishes because he's on the phone. I got to go back and watch that. But with that being said, which show was better this week? I got to admit, when I'm looking at the episode alone, I gotta say, I think Assisted Living still did it for me. I'm not saying, again, I think House of Pain was great this week, but when I'm looking at the episode as a whole, I think Assisted Living satisfied me a bit more, but House of Pain gave me more talking points, hence why I did 4 episodes about House of Pain in one day. So I gotta say that Assisted Living gets a solid 8 out of 10 because the series is actually finally getting good. All the characters were in the episode. I do feel like Philip has just been relegated to the good child who unwillingly sometimes snitches on his sister, but he's just looking out for her. And the Lindor plot, I'm actually interested because I do feel like it's opening the door to his dynamic with his father and, why things. And also, look at it this way. Caleb was supposed to come over to CJ and Janine's for dinner with Jasmine, and turns out we find out a couple episodes ago his mother passed away. And then when it comes down, apparently 2 years ago, and now Lindor is there having dinner with Sandra and her family, and it turns out his mother also passed away. So it's almost like Tyler is treating House of Pain and Assisted Living almost like the haves and the have-nots, and If Loving You Is Wrong, when there are a lot of similar plot lines and whatnot. But I feel like it's way more noticeable here because these shows are coinciding with each other week to week, so it's really noticeable. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I think the show's getting better. It really is. It's just a damn shame that, it's taken this long for it to happen. So when I go back and do like my season overview, there will be much fewer good points than bad points, but the show's watchable. Hell, the ratings for this week got a 0.92. Wait a minute. Yeah, aside from the first 2 episodes, this was the highest rated episode in terms of ratings. Now, let me see if I can pull up House of Pain. I am legitimately shocked here. House of Pain got a 0.8. Assisted Living beat House of Pain. Wow. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I don't think I've done a review this long about assisted living in a while. Shout out to the patrons over on Patreon. You can donate for as little as $1 a month, or if you just want to make a straightforward donation to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.